Hello, New Wave of British Heavy Metal.com here today. It's the 19th of July 2024. Little quick request for a favour, if I might ask that of you, and that's if you wouldn't mind please subscribing to the channel, because that'd be big help and appreciated if you would. Please. Right, today it's 8:01 live. Now you can tell by the graphic there they didn't spend too much money on the artwork, but you know, doesn't matter because it's about the music, isn't it? And I remember buying this all the way back when it first was issued back in 1976, after being tipped off about it by a kid who was a near neighbour of mine, lived a couple of three doors up the road, and told me about this and how good it was. So I went straight out and bought it, and learned that it was a short-lived project fronted up by none other than Phil Manzanera, you know, the Roxy Music guitarist. Must have been looking for something to do whilst Roxy Music were on a bit of a break back then. So he put together 801, which included a fine bunch of musicians, including Brian Eno, Lloyd Watson, Francis Monkman, Bill McCormack, and the superb drummer Simon Phillips. If you're very old like me, you'll know those names. But say 801, it's good stuff. They played only 3 concerts. That's how short-lived 801 were. The last of those 3 was at the Queen Elizabeth Hall in London, and 801 Live was the result of that concert, with it being recorded. Now, my old copy of this from almost 50 years ago has long since been lost in the mists of time. And indeed, I'd forgotten all about it until a few days ago. You know, Amazon has this sneaky trick of recommending stuff to you, don't they? And it popped up there as a recommendation. And on seeing it was only priced at just under £7 English, it was too much to resist. The order button was swiftly hit, and it arrived the following day. And so on its arrival, and listening to it again for almost the first time in God knows how many years, it was such a pleasant surprise to enjoy it once more. It's a sublime album of classy musicians, each strutting their considerable stuff through a varied set, largely made up of interpretations of solo work from Manzanera and Eno, and some covers thrown in as well. I think it's punchy, it's progressive, it's ambient, it's a bit jazzy sometimes, it's a bit Latin sometimes, but overall it's very enjoyable. And so we've got classy musicians that all know what they're doing. So what have we got here musically? Well, the sublime instrumental of Lagrima starts it off. Effortless stuff, which it's progressively ambient, I guess you could describe it. Manzanera's all over it, you know, showing what a fine guitar player he is over those swells of lush keyboards and everything else that's going on. Excellent stuff. TNK is a bit of a out there cover of the Beatles' Tomorrow Never Dies. Interesting interpretation, let's put it that way. East of Asteroid has Simon Phillips drumming up a storm, and the keyboards keeping pace with him before Manzanera comes crashing in with some frantic guitar work. To mix it up a little bit, Eno shows a nice sensitive vocal on the lazily atmospheric Wrong Wrong. Then again, further mixing things up, we've got Babies on Fire, spits along quite ferociously in a sort of a punchy new wave slant to it. Well, this was 1976, and over here in the UK, you know, punk was taking off, wasn't it, to become the style at the time, I suppose we can say. But for me, on this album, the highlight is Diamond Head, a superb instrumental. It's the title track from Manzanera's solo album, which in itself is a fine album. But you know, the way that they produce at Diamond Head here, it's so good, you know, sublime composition and performance, spectacular. Miss Shapiro, quite fun, a bit weird. And then we've got an energetic cover of the Kinks' You Really Got Me, which must be one of the most covered songs ever. I can take that or leave it. But then Third Uncle closes it out in style. It's almost Floyd-like. The sound quality here, considering this is 1976, it's fresh and it's clear, and it really has been a pleasure to rediscover 801 Live after a number of decades, not least because at that bargain price, just under £7, too good to miss. Well worthy of checking out if you like something just that little bit different. The following year, in 1977, there was a studio album, but this was titled Listen Now, and was released as Phil Manzanera and 801, probably to try and capitalise on Phil's name. That's a good album as well, if you can find that. I've got it somewhere, so I've reminded myself after recording this that I'll go and dig it out and listen to it, because I've not listened to that for some time either. But 801 Live, more than worthy. Quickly, before disappearing, quick spot of new wave of British heavy metal news. I'm hearing that Satan, good old Satan, have a new album slotted for release in September called Songs in Crimson. So I'll be sure to bag a copy of that with a review to follow. But in the meantime, do check out 801 Live. It's something a bit different, and it really is excellent stuff. So there we are, that's it. Please do subscribe to the channel before you go, because that would be marvellous. And as always, thanks for listening, thanks for watching, and take care.